Hello, everybody. I am Sun Psychic Jean. Please welcome my very special guest, Ellen Edmondson. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Jean. So happy to be here.
Thanks for coming. And Ellen is here to share her new book with us. It is called A Place of Love and Light. And it is an amazing compilation of many writings that Ellen has um, completed over the last 10 years. Is that right, Ellen?
Yes, that's absolutely true. It's a devotional style collection of writings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just want to say hello to Teresa is here. Hi, Teresa. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Um, and this book, Ellen, have you, is this your first book? Have you written a book before?
This is my very first book. It's my very first one. I'm happy it's my first one because it was just this whole book was such it's a labor of love. It's been writings I put together for the past 10 years, but they're all inspired writings. And it just came to me. I started writing them and I started. You tell me where you want me. Do you want me to just dive in,
Yeah.
Jean? You want
Well,
to?
so would it be fair to say these are channeled writings or inspired writings is pretty much what you'd like to call it, but it's similar to like a channel.
Channeled writings, and I've used either word, channeled or inspired. So but that's basically what it is. These writings came to me, came through me, and I started writing them out and putting them out. And it ties back to like when my gifts opened up 10 years ago. And
Yeah, tell us about how that started.
okay, well, it was exactly 10 years ago. I look at this as like the 10-year anniversary of my spiritual awakening, and that's how this book has come together as a collection, and just a collaboration with me and spirit coming together. And they shook me earlier this year and said, hey, put them all together in a booklet and put them in a book and put them out there. But 10 years ago, when my gifts started opening, it was right after the birth of my son. And in March that year, my mother died in July. And because of, I was going through this high and low, everything just started I was going through a traumatic time. My gifts started opening. It peaked at that time a little bit, started coming out, but I didn't have time to explore it because of what was, raising an infant, having a little baby at the time. But it was like 3 years later, still grieving, still trying to work through things. I started doing a meditation practice.
Oh,
Do you know the Oprah and Deepak when they were Chopra, they were doing those 21 meditation challenges.
yeah,
I
I
started
do.
I started doing that just because it was my chance to take a little break away and tune into myself. So and it was helping me deal with my grief. So, and I was reading at that time every book by James Van Praagh was helping me because I went on this whole quest to understand life and then the afterlife. I was like, what does this really mean? Because I grew up Catholic, trying to understand how does this all work together? What does this mean? Because there's got to be more. So it put me on that search, that path of trying to discover the bigger meaning of life. So after I started doing the meditations that fall of 2012, it was 2013 in the beginning, it was January. I had this big shift in awareness, this awakening. And within a 9-day period of time, I went from just spontaneous automatic writing, automatic typing, speaking in trance, and then I started I call it speaking in tongues. And I've since heard the word light language, speaking in light language. It's what I found out that it was later another term for it was called. Um, and everything was just came on me so quick. And I started doing these writings. I started getting these thoughts coming to me. And I was hearing, I'm very clear audience. So I was hearing these voices talking to me. And it took a little while. First, it started with the automatic writing, and I was getting messages that way. But then after a while, one day I was sitting, I was thinking, and I know I was thinking about the to-do list of what I need to pick up for the baby and do this and do that. But then I started hearing these other thoughts coming to me.
Wow.
And it was in that moment of clarity. And I've had that happen before, but I just didn't know the distinction. But it was in that moment of clarity. I was like, wait a second. I was just thinking about my to-do list. And now I'm hearing this other, like someone's talking to me. Wow, what is this? And then it finally clicked. I was like, someone's communicating with me in this way. What is happening here? And I just heard this like internally, this cheer of like, you get it, you finally get it. Now
Wow.
we don't have to take hold of your hand anymore, like for automatic writing, where they were actually taking hold and using my hand. They were like, we can send you blocks of thought, and then you
Okay.
just write.
Can I
What?
ask you one quick question? When you
Yeah,
say "they say," and what would you say they are at that time? What did you think they were? Angels or loved ones?
it was when it first came through, and actually, even when I started speaking in trance, and that just came on me spontaneously. It was actually they identified themselves at that time, and I realized I was tapping into different groups, collective group of angels, and
Oh,
those angels came through and started speaking. One day when my husband came in from walking the dog, and I just went into spontaneous vocal trance and started speaking with my husband, identified themselves as a group of angels, archangels. And so they had spoken with him. And all of this I was like uncomfortable with because I didn't know what was going on. It was just really strange for me. When the writings at the time that was happening, but then also the writings were going. At first, it was just a couple days of my hands making squiggles on the paper and just writing different things. And let me back up. I had gone to the library to get a book, and I actually went by the metaphysical section. And when I went by there, I happened to see a book called Raymond Buckland's Book of Spirit Communications. Now, I
oh,
wasn't into the metaphysical at that time, but I just knew that book called to me. So I got it. And there were two books on automatic writing. So when I brought them home. And one evening I put my son to bed. When I went to sit down, I opened up the book, the Raymond Buckland's book. I opened it up to automatic writing, started reading. When I started reading it, my hand started moving on its own. And I was like, I'm not consciously doing this. I was like, something. So as I'm reading what it is, it started happening for me.
oh my gosh.
So I'm just like, wow. So I went and got I just felt like I'm being directed. I went and got paper and pencil and just put my hand down and started making these squiggles and moves and all of this. So I'm just like, okay. So this happened. My hand would start to twitch whenever I felt like I
Oh,
needed to write. It was like a way for to be identified that they wanted to write through me. So this happened for about maybe 3 days, 4 days. And then at one point, I hadn't said anything to my husband. And when my hand would twitch, I'd just go get paper and started making these squiggles. And this little sentences like, I love you, or a name started coming through. So I'm like, okay, this is just, I don't know what's going on, but we'll just go with this. And I went up to go check my email one day during this time, like after about 3 days. I went to check my email and my hand started flying super human speed across the keyboard. It was like this burst of energy just came out of my fingertips. And
oh
I'm
my,
typing like all this stuff, just letters, random, like everything. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So this is happening. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I need to let my husband know something's happening because I can't control whatever's going on, and this is just happening. So finally, I told him that look at what's happened with the typing. So he would make space to take my son when he was home, my husband was home, and let me have the space to explore what was going on. But I would type, and then sentences started to form. At first, it was just random letters, all letters and numbers, but then words
oh,
and little sentences started coming out. So as they were able to work with me more and understand it more, I was starting to get sentences and words. But then it went from that into the trance, which I explained about. They spoke through me to my husband. And then it was after that I had that experience where I was thinking about to-do lists and that kind of thing. And then it came through that they were able to get through and tell me I was able to distinguish that I was receiving different information, different thoughts that were not my own. So with that, then they said to start writing what I was hearing, like I was just taking down dictation. And so that's what I started doing. And that's the beginning of how all of these writings started. So they were
wow.
sending me messages, they were sending me, telling me things, sending directions, but it was all these loving thoughts. So when I spoke vocally, it was a group that identified themselves as angels. After a while, when I started doing these writings, and the writings that are in the book, they identified themselves as a loving collective group of energy that was coming to help give guidance to Earth and help look over the Earth. And they identified themselves as the masters. And they said that's who I was working with.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
And how long from the time that the scribbles and the different letters and numbers coming through till the time that they said that you were connecting to the masters? Was it months or was it just a few days? Like how soon did they identify themselves?
Oh my goodness, this was just, it was within days. When I had that 9-day abrupt awakening, everything happened so quickly. And I would say probably within that 9 days, they identified themselves after I made that connection. I'd say within 2 weeks. It was more than the 9 days, but it was within days. So it was less than within the 2 weeks. And so then I
Wow.
knew that
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm working with some kind of, but my husband, I didn't say anything to anybody. I was just like, what do I do with this? This is something. But it's like, okay, I don't know what to do with this, but I'm just going to keep writing what I'm here. I just knew that what was coming through was these beautiful, loving, endearing messages. And they would send things for me, writings from that were for personal to me, like for me to know, but then things that were just beautiful, universal messages. So I just started writing. I just kept writing when I had the time to do it. And then my husband, he went and he's like, okay, let's see what we can do with this. So he looked up an intuitive development class because we were still trying to figure out why is this happening? What's going on? When we went to the intuitive development class, and I share a lot of this in the story in the front of the book,
Okay.
um, there was a reverend, that the person who was leading the class, and she was so wonderful. We explained everything that was going on. She talked to me, and at the end, she was like, because I kept saying, "Oh no, am I going cuckoo berries? What's happening? Am I going cuckoo berries?" Or this is, I knew it was something interesting, but I just didn't know what. And I never would have expected anything like this happen to myself. And she said, "No, you're not going cuckoo berries." She said, "You just have a gift, and you've got to share this with the world." And I told her these messages were coming through, and she was telling us you need to share them with the world. And so it was from that point to this, I just kept writing. I just kept writing, and I just had paper notebooks and notebooks of all these beautiful writings that were coming through. In that
Did
fall
you
after,
did you see anything or dream of anything, or did any other than the writing and the messages coming through, did any other phenomena happen around you?
well, at the when all of that was happening, I'll back up before that. When my I started realizing that there was something unique happening. I know when my mother passed away, we had when she passed away, that was 3 years before this happened, but it was kind of that opening to show that
Right.
something was going on. After she passed, we had a lot of electrical disturbances around the house. My son's little like Elmo toys and like the lights, the radios, things would just go off. We would hear his little Elmo loves you or these little electronic toys all through the house.
That was your mom.
This is the one, and it was her. It was her. The lights flash and the radio coming on. This happened, but see, I didn't know I had these gifts at the time.
Okay.
So this
Yeah.
happened for about 8 months, and it got to a point every time I went to sleep, I could see her like I'm looking at Eugene. She was asleep right there. It was like she was right there every night. Started
Oh,
getting scared, and I was like, I
oh,
couldn't sleep. I would be like stayed up till 3 and 4 in the morning, so I didn't have to sleep. But she came to me one night and when I did finally fall asleep, and she said, "Ellen, I realize I'm scaring you. And that's not what I'm trying to do." She said, "So I'm going to go and you'll be okay and
oh
I'll
my,
be around." And it was
I got
after that,
I
I
got
never,
the chills.
yeah, I never dreamed about her again. Every now and then she'll come, but I didn't dream, but everything stopped in the house. All the activity stopped.
Okay.
It was like, wow. But from that instant to like with all of this that was happening, that was the only thing where we had a lot of stuff going on around in the house.
Okay.
But at the time when all of this 9 days was opening and all of that was at the same time my son's ability started opening too.
Wow. And your
So
son was 3?
he was right. He was almost 3 at that time. So he started when my mom had passed, he started picking up things about my mom, about my father-in-law who had crossed over. Even one point when I went into another room, when I started the automatic writing and I went to write, he was in a totally different room because I didn't do this around him. But he came walking in, toddling over in, and he came right over to me and he grabbed my left hand because I'm left hand and he looked at it. He said, "Mom, what's wrong with your hand? Your hand broke?" And I said, "Ooh, how did he know I was writing?" Is I said, he sensed that something's going on with me. But I didn't know
Oh,
that he knew. but he
Yeah.
sensed that there was something happening even at that point. We were
Wow.
both opening at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I thought you were gonna say he came through with some of the messages. Like, he would hear what you were talking about or what you were writing about.
No,
Wow.
he knew that something was happening with me, and but at that time it's just it was hard because I was going through this, but we also knew he was going through things. That's when he started experiencing past life. Around that time he was talking about that and him not being able to sleep. So we were trying to balance what's happening with him, what's happening with me, and then not only did we lose my mother, but within a 3-year time frame, we lost my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law. So
Oh
we were
my
experiencing
gosh.
a lot of loss, a lot of change at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that does a lot of times kick off that spiritual awakening or that, opening, to have that occur. But obviously you were destined to bring through these messages. And let's just take a look at the book. I think let me just see if I have this. I'll just show everybody what the book looks like, and it's called A Place of Love and Light. And how did you come up with the title there?
Well, what's interesting with that title, when these writings started coming through, and after we talked to the Reverend who kind of helped to, assure my husband and I, was like, she's like, everything's good. You just have a gift you need to share. I didn't know what to do or how to go forward with it still. So we took some months and I'm still just I'm not sharing this with anybody, not telling anybody. But my husband kept saying, well, you know what she said, you need to share this. So I ended up in the fall, he kept pushing me. I set up a website. And with that website, I just started posting on the website and on a blog these messages that were coming. But when I set up the website, it has at the top of it a place of love and light because that's what I felt guided to. That was what I was, the messages to be put out were love and light, place of love and light. So you'll see that at the top of my website. And that's
And
how the book became titled after that, because it's a collection of all the writings that were on the website that was titled Ellen Edmondson, A Place of Love and Light.
let me just see. Yeah, it'll work. Okay.
Welcome. Yeah,
This
welcome,
is
friends.
this is your website, and it's ellenedmonston.com. And there's a place where you can find out more about the book here. And you have just amazing. I mean, you guys, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Ellen is a multi-dimensional, amazing author, and she is a medium. And um, tell us a little bit about what all these services that you offer, because there's just so many here.
Well, for I do mediumship and intuitive psychic readings for people, because when my abilities broke open, that's what I was able to do that. Start receiving messages for people and about situations and things. And then after I started doing the writings, it was 6 months later. I was They were telling me that through the writings, I was going to start drawing for spirit. And it was like 6 months after all of the writing, the trance, the automatic writing, everything started. It was 6 months later, I started doing that. I started just drawing pictures and images of energies that were coming to me. So I'm a spirit artist as well. And now, and auragraphs, that came up. And it's funny, Jean, that just started during the pandemic, where they started sending me images and impressions and guiding me. I call them auragraphs, but they're soul portraits, and each one is unique. And when I get, all I need is a person's name, and I can draw a picture that helps to represent um, their soul, past, present, future, just different information that their guides. I open up, expand, and my guides connect with their guides, and we sit down and we'll go through these pictures that represents their soul. And everyone is unique. Everyone is so different. And I realized my guides were telling me all you need is a person's name. I get that up front. I don't even meet with the person before I do them. And every
Look
single
at that.
person I sat down and talked to, they're just like right on. That particular one with the eyes, it was funny when I met with that person, she actually had 3 eyes tattooed on her arm. So it was pretty amazing.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. It is absolutely just amazing. And there's so much detail and so much information in each one of these, and so many colors, and all the colors are just so beautiful. And the words and it's multifaceted. It is absolute. And look at, it's just amazing. And the
Well,
symbolism and the animals, and it's just beautiful.
and
Wow.
each one, every color means something, every image means something, the way it comes together. So when I do those for people, it's an hour reading with a orograph, a soul portrait, but we go through a lot of detail and everything has meaning to the individual.
So that one, what we just looked at is an orograph, and all you need is somebody's name and some time, and then you'll send that to them, right?
Right.
And we have,
We'll,
okay.
we'll meet by Zoom, we'll go through it, or in person, we'll walk.
Oh, okay. And then you give the, okay, good.
We go
And then
give.
can I go to the spirit portraits as well? Oh,
Yes.
where's the other one? Oh, where's the
It's
gallery? Here it is.
yeah. So for that one, the Spirit Portraits Gallery, I can do spirit portraits in two ways. I can do them where I sit with someone, and it's more of a quicker sketch, but these are more the quicker sketch ones, where I will sit and do a reading with a person and sketch their loved one, see who comes through and sketch their loved one. I also do it where there's a photo, where people can give me a photo but no information attached to it. So I call it like a photo reading drawing. And so I will take the photo of the departed loved one and I will draw the picture. It's much more detailed. It can be an exact likeness. I go by what the spirit tells me. Sometimes there's a difference. They may add to the pictures, change something for the picture, but it's much more realistic and much more like the person. And then messages come through. So that once again, there's an hour reading with that.
Oh,
And you get
wow.
detailed messages from your loved one.
So all of these people have crossed, right? And you're,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And that one I had actually done a fundraiser for Veterans Day for
Oh,
organization, and those were some of the pictures I drew for the audience of family members.
wow. And you guys, everything is found on her website. It's ellenedmonston.com. And it's just amazing. Let me just go back to the book. Which one is the book? Let's go back to home.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so that is wonderful, wonderful. And oh, I know, I also have the link to the book in the description below. And I think that some of the moderators were putting in Ellen's website. And the link to the book, if you go on Amazon and it says you can read a sample, you can see the entire table of contents. And describe a little bit about how the book is laid out, or how it's presented.
Well, the book it's actually a collection. It's like a devotional because it's a collection of these writings that I've received through the years. So it's 340 pages. So it's not quite one per day, but it's just a collection of them. So it starts off with the introduction. I wanted to give everybody an understanding my story and how this came to be. And then when you go from there, it's set up by different spiritual topics. So as on spirituality, on truth, on faith and trust, on love, on purpose, on self-awareness, self-mastery. So on changing the world, on living in the world. So these were the groupings that the writings were put under. So as you read each one, there's so much wisdom in these and guidance in these messages that it's something that you want to take your time and really sit with it. So on my website, I do have, when you go to the front of the book, there's a code that you can scan, or you can go to the link that's in there. And on my website, I do actually have where you can download a journal. So I put together a guided journal that supports the book as well.
Oh,
Um, so that's free. You can just go out there, you download the journal, and it's with the book, and it's 2 pages per each section. So you can just kind of jot some notes, meditate and journal on it, because it really is full of a lot of wisdoms that you're going to want to capture any aha moments that you have with it.
wow.
Yeah. So I was guided to do that too. So to have the book and have the journal to go with it. Yeah.
That is so beautiful, so needed, so important. It's just amazing. So some of the key words in on the book, it says a journey back to compassion. and just say a few words about what you've learned from the writings about compassion.
Wow. Well, one of the main themes that you'll see throughout the book is unconditional love and compassion. And they're just interwoven, that's tied together, and that how we need to live with that intent and come from that intent. And that as people get more in touch with overall with compassion, and that's for yourself, being compassionate to yourself first. And that's how we tap into our authenticity, is being compassionate with ourselves, coming to understand ourselves, know ourselves, being true to ourselves. And then when we do that, we can come from a place that we can give that out to other people. You know, we can give it out to our family, our friends, our communities, because we're operating from that space of unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness.
Yes, I was
You
going to
know,
say forgiveness is a big part of that, you guys. It's a really big part of that. And I'll just tell you a little story about I had a family member who I didn't get along with and was it was a contentious relationship, and then my family member has since passed away. And every time I would do a Reiki session, or I would do some sort of energetic healing of some sort, and all people would say to me, "Jean, your family member is here. Do you want to talk to them?" And I'm like, "No, I know who that is. I don't want to talk to them." And it took a couple of years, but I finally came around and understood that it's important to forgive. It's important to forgive and understand that we are only humans, and humans have flaws. And it was a role that they were playing. And it was necessary for them to go through that for their journey, and to
mhm,
forgive them and not to take it so personally, and not to have like grudges or resentment. All of this, it does not serve us. It doesn't, it serves no purpose. And it's almost like us taking poison and expecting somebody else to die. It won't work that way. And it's really important. And once you develop that understanding and that perspective of somebody else living their life in the journey on their own spiritual journey, you understand that it really has nothing to do with you, and that you can let go of all of that, resentment or blame or guilt or whatever it might be, and just do away with it. It's so freeing. That forgiveness is for us. And it opens up that perspective, and it opens up that awareness, and that compassion comes through. And then I see somebody else fighting with their family member, and I'm like, yep, I know about that. Like, and you can see it. You have new eyes. It's like a clarity that you see. And I just, it's amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful awareness. It's a process, but this is what we mean when we say compassion and forgiveness, and this is what we mean when we work on connecting to our divine spark, our own
mhm,
soul, and work on compassion and forgiveness for ourselves,
mhm,
and what we may have said, what we may have witnessed, what we may have done against somebody else. It was a lesson. It wasn't something for you to carry. It was a lesson for you to learn from and let go. And I did a reading for a woman, and her spirit guides were, she had like a whole bag of trains. Why they were trains, like model trains. And I said it was a whole bag of trains that she was carrying around with her. And I said, they said that it's important that you learn from the struggles and the the trauma that you went through. They said, but you don't need to carry it as a heavy burden. And her spirit guide said, put it on your arm like a tattoo and wear it like a badge, and it's lighter and it's more proud. Like, this is what I went through. This is how I became strong. And you can still have that, awareness of this is what you went through, but you don't have to carry the heavy burden. And it's a forgiveness for yourself. It's a forgiveness for those who have, uh, went against us. And it's a proud badge for us to know that we've, evolved, and that we've overcome, and that we um, can now move forward with the wisdom and the perspective that gave us.
That's beautiful, Jean. That's absolutely everything you're saying. That's 100% like the messages in the book, because compassion and forgiveness are tied together. The one thing, just like what you were saying, is the fact that we're all here to learn, evolve, and grow. A lot of people want to look at right and wrong, or it's about what did you learn, how are you going to evolve, and how are you going to grow from it. And you do that through like I said, internalize love and compassion for self and for others. And one of the themes I love in here that keeps coming through is you have to be kind to not only to yourselves, but to each other, because we're all beautiful works in progress. No one is meant to be perfect. No one is going to get everything supposedly right, but it's not really right or wrong. It's learning and growth and lessons. If you learn from the lesson, you evolve, and you grow past it. Otherwise, when you don't learn, some people will see that the same thing keeps showing up in their life over and over and over again. Why does this keep happening to me? I keep experiencing the same thing, because there's some aspect of it that you have not really taken in to learn from it, to evolve past that lesson, to move on to the next thing. But everything you said, Jean, that's absolutely beautiful. It's 100%, because compassion, unconditional love and compassion tie into unconditional forgiveness. We have to walk every day in forgiving ourselves for maybe not doing what we think we should be doing, or living, you think maybe you should be living up to these expectations, that you're right where you need to be, doing what you need to do. You're just learning and growing from it. And so we need to be kind to ourselves. And the more kind we are to ourselves, then we can put those loving thoughts and intentions, we can let that flow out to us, to others. But it always starts with self. Anyway, when it talks about compassion and how do we make the world a better place, it starts with self-improvement. It always starts with self-awareness. And when you become self-aware and really tapping into what's important to you and staying true to yourself and bringing your soul light and your gifts to the world, when you start doing that, even in small acts, we light a torch. We light other people's light, because when they see you being authentic, or you showing unconditional love or unconditional compassion and forgiveness and humility and all those things, when you naturally exude that, the people around you pick up that energy, and
They
they
do.
will and that's how we do the ripple effect. That's how it starts, one person at a time. And
Mhm.
understanding that we're all here having a human experience. We're all meant to make, mistakes. If you want to say
Mhm.
mistakes, we're all here. Nobody's going to do everything in this perceived right way or perfection. There's no perfect. There's only learning and growth, and
Mhm.
embracing that for each other.
So you say self-awareness for those of who are listening and may not be sure what that looks like. What does self-awareness look like? How would you either give an example or describe what you mean by that?
For me, for self-awareness is really just tapping into, it goes back to what I was mentioning about letting your own soul light shine. So many people, and it's just because of the conditioning. When we're born into the world, everybody is perfect. You are perfect, beautiful, divine beings. And that has not changed all through your life. What has changed is when we get out, and once we're born and we come into families and we come out into the world, we go into schools, is the conditioning of, you have to be a certain way, you have to act a certain way, you have to, attend a certain, school or a religion or this or that. It's layers and layers of these thoughts that you have to do or be a certain way, or in that conditioning then starts to make somebody feel like, oh, because puts that labeling, those standards of, well, if I don't do this, I don't add up, or I don't measure up, or you're trying to meet others' expectations, versus listening to what makes your heart sing, what makes your soul sing. So when you tap into finding ways to be true to yourself and peel back those layers, that's what helps you to stay aware. Actually, Jane, it just coming to, can I read one of the poems out of it's like a poem out of the
Yeah,
book? Would that be
sure,
okay?
sure. Please do. I'd love that. I'd love that.
This one, it's just right now, it's coming, it resonates. Um, let's see. This is one that I love that came through. And I actually wrote this in it was just like 5 minutes, just flowed right out of me. But it's called The Mask. And this actually falls under the self-awareness section. It's the first one under there. And it says, it's called The Mask. Remove yours, and I might remove mine. You see, it was put there when I was 3. It was fashioned just for me by my parents, family, and society. I have more to offer than what you see, but I dare not remove it because I've been told no one would love me.
Mm.
I don't like wearing this mask because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't really fit me, but out of habit, I keep it on until eventually one day I can't take it anymore. I'm unhappy in not who I truly am and who I want to be. I have so much more to offer than what others want to see, so I plot ways to break free. I fantasize about the day I can truly be me. Then one day, I felt deep inside that I just had to be me. I can't live behind this mask to please those around me. I have to choose to live the fullness of me. So I decided to break free. Nervous and scared no one would love or even like the real me, I rip off my mask and set myself free. That changed my reality. And now I live life as it was meant to be for me. I live free. I live as fully me, no shame, guilt, fear, or insecurities, just soaringly me. Thank you, God, for holding me and helping me come to the reality that the only way to live is to take off my mask and have everyone see me, the real me, and not who you want me to be, but the I am of me. Here I stand in all my beauty. Love me or leave me, you decide. I have to be me. But eventually you'll see that we're not so different, you and me. Take off your mask and set yourself free. You see, unconditional love is the life we were meant to lead. I'm not afraid of you, so please don't be afraid of me. We are all one as we are meant to be, one love and one humanity. So please take off your mask as I have done, and together we can all live happily and free, the way we were meant to be because we love unconditionally. When we lighten each other's load, we live happily and free, the way we were meant to be. We are free.
Wow. That is just so beautiful, Ellen. Oh my gosh. And oh, that flowed through you. That flowed out of you in 5 minutes.
That was
Wow.
it just came. I sat down, I had to grab a pen and I just started writing. It was just like 5 minutes. It just came out. And I was like, that's powerful because everybody lives with a mask because in when you take off that mask and let people really see you, and thanks for the comment that went up there.
She's
It,
saying goosebumps.
it's really that's what it's really about is just living our authentic self and not being afraid to show who we are. And I'll just say this one example, like with these what happened to me and these abilities and these gifts. For years I did not talk about this. I didn't share it with anybody because what are people going to think? What are people think I'm weird and this? But I got to the point and I told when we met before about how my son said to me, Mom, I can't be me until you be you, because he has these abilities. And that was him saying, I can't be authentically me until I see you show me what authenticity is and not be afraid to be you. And, that's where I am now and putting this book together and sharing with the world. And I'm like, this is me and this is what I have to offer. But all of us have to bring our soul light and show up that's how the world changes and is
Mhm,
better for it by all of us showing up as authentically ourselves and not being afraid to put it out there.
mhm. And I want to maybe bring up just a little bit to a lot of people talk about the ego self and then the spiritual self. And this compassion, this authenticity is our true spiritual essence, our soul's vibration coming through and being creative and expressing its true self. And it's our soul's vibration. It's our true core self. And our ego would that be it's a little bit of the programming that comes in, but where do you think that ego comes into that, if you
Well,
do?
I think just the fact that we're living in the physical environment, we have to have some ego that helps us to maneuver through this our environment. So you have to have that. But I think what the key is having the ego and the soul self. They've got to work together. The ego has to complement what the soul self is bringing forward. And so that's when we're all going to have our ego moments, but we have to be able to know that let's let it serve the intent of love. Whatever we
Mm,
do, let's come at things from that intent of love and let the ego serve. Just like what you said, Jane, it's that balance.
balance.
Forgiveness. is forgiveness. We're all going to do that. One of the things I love is we're all going to be victims and we're all going to be victimizers at points. We learn the lessons that if we want to learn to be more courageous, you're going to be put in situations where you have to show your courage. So we're all some of both. Nobody's all ever supposedly right or all wrong, but we've got to make our ego help to support our soul light and bring those attributes forward that help us be our best and highest self.
You just said soul light. Was that a term that they brought through, that your
Yeah, you'll see.
masters, their soul
Right,
light?
you'll see that in the
Wow.
book too, where they talk about
'Cause
our soul light. Yeah,
I usually, they say soul essence, but that soul light, man, that just rang. Woo. Yeah,
yeah.
that was really, that's true. Yeah, that's soul
Well,
light.
because and that's why the book is A Place of Love and Light, because love and light are the two most powerful, high vibrating words in the universe. Those are two. Yeah, and
Okay, now
so
I know my hashtags. I have to go back and put my hashtags in. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, and there's also you also have, let me just go back to the book and read what it says. um, it says, and making a positive contribution to the world. And tell us a little bit about how the book talks about making a positive contribution.
well, it in that all ties into just like this, what we've been talking about is that when we show up as ourselves and we show up authentically, that's when we can make a positive contribution to the world. And it all ties into offering ourselves and understanding that we have to rally around the similarities among each other versus the differences. And it goes into a lot of conversation around the fact that we all experience love and grief and joy, and we all have insecurities. We all have, these are common threads across everyone. But what happens is our society and humanity focuses on the differences. We focus on skin color. We focus on nationalities. We focus on sexualities. We focus on, all these things that they came together and say that our divinity, that's the variety of life. That's what we need: different perspectives. We need different people. We need different backgrounds. We need that variety that helps bring together, they call it like a tapestry of beauty to life. But what happens is people get focused on differences and wanting it to be that one is better than the other, or this should be, there's a superiority, inferiority, or that this is different, and that the differences are bad. When we need to start looking at the differences are just differences that help add to the complexities of life, but bring different perspectives that help build up and
Oh,
support the whole of life. And so that's the if we want to make a positive contribution, it's honoring ourselves, it's honoring the everyone else, because there's nothing wrong or bad or not good about anyone. Everyone is a spark of the divine. Every
because
single person.
if we were all the same and we all ate the same food and we all talked the same way and we all had the same, we would eventually become extinct. I mean, we need the diversity, we need the balance, we need the all the different scenarios out there. All it's our differences are the gift that we bring. It's oh wow, wow, that was. So I wanted to point out here that you also, the book is offered on Kindle. Is that right?
Yes, it just on Thursday, the paperback came out on the 21st, and then Kindle and hard copy, they just became available on Thursday, the 14th. They just became available too.
And is that an introductory offer for the Kindle? Because that's a really low price there, Ellen.
Yeah, yes. Right now, actually, all three of them are introductory
Okay.
introductory pieces. The book actually has some original landscape art pictures in there. So there's actual picture, some beautiful color pictures, and it's considered a full color book. So yes, those are introductory prices.
Wow. So if you get it now, you can get it at the special price. And the Kindle is only 99 cents right now, and the
Yeah.
paperback is 19.99. But it that will eventually change. And I did put the link to me just put this. I don't know if you guys can put this long link in or not.
And can I add one thing, Jane,
Yeah,
too?
sure.
Right now, I did put anyone who uses Goodreads or is part of Goodreads, and they do giveaways right now for the next 2 weeks, because I believe in the power of the messages that are in this book. I do have it on, I'm giving 100 free copies away through Goodreads, the Kindle version, to anyone who wants to sign up through that for the giveaways.
I'm not familiar with Goodreads, but that sounds amazing. Let me just go down here and put this in here. Okay, so I just put the link for, yeah, I just put the link for Amazon right here. It's kind of long, but there it is.
And I will mention too, Jane, I've just been so thrilled and happy with the response that the book is getting. Already it's received 5-star ratings from readers' favorite and book commentary reviews for books. So it's, it's starting to get more and more attention, and I'm really happy about that. It's been a lot of positive comments and feedback on the book. So I'm really happy. And it's posted on the websites for those book review places as well.
Wow. That's wonderful. And this is just the beginning for Ellen. I mean, Ellen has been, like I said, a medium and a spiritual practitioner for many, for how long have you been? I guess, how long? 10 years, right?
10 years since everything started. I was doing it kind of quiet, but now I'm just out there with everything now, because that's my soul light and what I've been pushed to do by my by my guides and spirit.
And they do encourage you. There's like an urgency, like, come on now, come on, come on, come on, come on. Like there's like an urgency. There's like you just feel compelled sometimes. Like there's like this momentum that's behind you. Like you just can't let it go. You're like, okay, I'm going.
Well, Jean, can I tell you that you are so 100% right? Because for this book, I started pulling together, and at the beginning of the year, it was like spirit just grabbed hold of. I felt like I was 8 days in this tunnel of a trance, and it was just like, get this book together. But my son and husband could tell you, it was like about 3 different times I stayed up 48 hours straight. I didn't drink, eat anything. I wasn't tired, but I was at the computer pulling this book together because I was directed, work and get this together. So you're right. And when they tap you, it's like, you follow that inspiration, follow that push, that nudge to do it.
It's unmistakable. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever stayed up 48 hours, but I've done some superhuman feats that nobody would ever believe I could do. And my husband was like, this is not like you. Like, and I'm like, look, I can't explain it. I just got to go. Teresa Hadarian, thank you, Teresa. You're so sweet. She said, I just downloaded the Kindle app Next by the book. And she's also going to shout it from the highest mountain.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much.
I mean, these spiritual messages coming through are just so so important, so valuable, and it is the way of the future, everybody. And this is what we're going to need to hold. Begin the new earth, begin the new evolution in humanity. And I believe, I've said this before, that I believe this is how we were always intended to live here on earth as humanity, is to live with guidance. And I think that the indigenous peoples did have guidance from the spirit guides, from the stars, and they listened to the vibrations of the earth as well to know when to move or when to, just different aspects of their life. They would listen and work in communion with the earth and with the spirit guides and with the stars. And it was at that time where they say, I don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point somebody said, oh, that's nonsense, I'm right, listen to me. And sort of like around king time or something, I don't know. But that's what I feel, as though it was, once we did have it, it was once here for humanity, but we really got off track and really pushed down the wrong road and into the industrial evolution. And everything happens for a reason. And I think this is all put, like you said, into our lives and into history for us to learn from and to evolve from. But the evolution push that I feel now, and the urgency and and there's just like an intensity to it right now. And I feel it's us moving in. I mean, we are already in the age of Aquarius, but when we move into the sign of Aquarius in 2024, astrologically, I think that there's a lot of momentum in that as well. But it's a lot of things are just becoming more and more intense.
Absolutely, 100%, Gene. Because the one thing message I keep getting is like everyone's called to follow that spark that in that divinity that's in. It's just if you listen, that's what we've gotten out of is listening to ourselves, listening to that inner voice, connecting with that inner space within, and we listen to everything external to us. And when you listen to external, that's when you're not being true to yourself, your authenticity and going within. And that's the key. So you hit it, the indigenous people knew that. They stayed
Hmm.
connected to that inner listening and inner knowing.
Hmm. Hmm. So when you say listen, is it and I often try and give people guidance and recommend that they meditate or do a chakra balancing or something. And they're like, oh, I can't meditate, because the monkey mind gets in the way. And it is important to sit in silence, but it's also, we can like listen to binaural beats or something like this. Do you have any tips about like tapping into that inner wisdom and what that might sound like for some people starting out?
Well, just what you said, Jean, because that's one of the things that's even throughout the book is talks about the importance of sitting in silence, of just even connecting to the breath, your breath to help quiet your mind. So
That's great.
breathing, meditation, and whatever meditation looks like for you. Because for me, I always tell folks, I'm not a person just sit there and just be still. So every morning I go for a 1.5 mile walk, and in nature, just being in nature is my meditation. And
Oh.
so walking, I call it my walking meditations. And I receive so much information just being out in nature. Because I always say that's the closest you can get to the divine is the trees, the grass, the earth. That's my connecting. I feed energy off of that. So I think people have to find what works for them to go get quiet and go within, but definitely the mindfulness techniques of meditation, prayer, um, breathing techniques, walking meditation, just doing those things that help you find that space and connect and just making the time. Sometimes it's just slowing down because life
Mhm,
gets busy. Just slowing down and sitting with yourself and
mhm,
just asking yourself, tapping within, where am I right now? What do I want to, what do, how do I feel? Getting
mhm.
to know yourself and
And,
tapping in.
I have a lot of people that ask me, "Jean, how do I get in touch with my spirit guides? I don't hear anybody talking to me. How do I know when they're talking to me?" I said, "Do you ever get, like, a gut feeling?" I said, "That's your spirit guides talking to you. It comes from inside you. It's your gut feeling." Do you ever do something and then get an idea pop into your head and you're like, oh, yeah, that's your spirit guides reminding you? A lot of it comes from within us. Our bodies are like an instrument or like an antenna for the spirit realm to help to connect us to the messages. And this is, well, with Ellen and her writing. But before this, Ellen, tell me, I know you said when you're after your mother passed, a lot of that the lights and things were happening around, and the electrical things were happening. But before that, were you aware of spirit guides, or did you connect to angels, or did you do any meditation before any of this started?
Not really meditation. I've been, like I said, growing up Catholic and religion, prayer, church was
Oh.
always a thing for me. So, but prayer, I was always connected to prayer. And so that was important to me. But one of the things that I always said, I always had I always called it just good gut instincts because I worked in business for 16 years, but I moved up the ladder extremely fast and I hit a level that most people didn't hit until their 50s. And I was like 36. But people would say, well, how did you call that 2 weeks ago or 6 months ago? But it was just, I didn't know. It was just intuitively, I was connecting in and connecting things. And so I always felt led because whenever I would get a hit, just like what you said, Gene, if I got a thought or an inspiration, I always just said, well, that's just God giving me an idea. But it's like you said, it's your guides, it's the divine downloading into you. It's just, and that happens to people frequently. It's just, do they pay attention to it, or do they just kind of dismiss it,
Mhm.
and listen to something else? But just tap into, when you, like Jean said, when you get that inspiration, when you get that feeling, like that nudge, like, "Oh, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should try this, or maybe I should." How many of us have done something where you're thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, and you did it anyway, and then it worked out that you really shouldn't have done it. You should have followed that little nudge you had inside. That's because the divine is always trying to help us go in the direction we're meant to, or course correct. But it's up to us. That's why you can't get that guidance outside of yourself. You've got to tune in and see what you're being nudged to do, because following external advice is not always going to be the best for you, if it's not in alignment with what your soul is meant to do.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's such a beautiful experience, and you're still practicing with your mediumship. You still do readings. You still see clients, and now you're an author, and you're going to probably be on all of our favorite shows that we watch. And I'm going to be at the front and center watching you on on all your interviews. But thanks for coming here. And Ellen and I met each other. We were both at a psychic fair, and I think we were either across from one another or just down the
Mhm.
road from one another. And I have to say, I just instantly clicked. I mean, your light was just shining so bright, and I mean the light inside of your soul. And it just comes through your eyes and through your face. And just I really felt the vibration and the loving nature coming from you. And when I found out about your story, and Ellen has been on before, I think it was about a year ago, she came
Mhm.
on and talked about her son and her highly intuitive children, highly intuitive kids, it's called. She also
Mhm.
has a website that takes all that into account, and you can see the last show that she was on with me to learn a little bit more about that. But is there anything that you would that I didn't ask you, Ellen, that you wanted to share with us, or that you wanted to repeat that you think is important before we leave tonight?
I think we hit everything. I just encourage people, because the wisdoms in the book, it's so much. It's really packed with a lot of loving wisdom and guidance. It's like gentle reminders and little wake up call messages for everyone, just as an individual, and just for people, just for humanity. It's really a call from the divine for everyone to do better, the world to do better, wanting everything to be in a better state. And so I'm hoping that this book will, catch on, that people will grab hold of it, read it, sit with the information, take it in, because it's one of those things that it really can help people connect back to their divine spark. But then as we connect back to that, it's that ripple effect. We start to shine our light out differently to others, and then it sets off that ripple effect for positive change. So I just encourage anybody, please get a copy, read it. If you like it, pass it on to others. Let as many folks know as you can.
I think it has energetic healing qualities in it as well. It's not just words on a paper. I think that it has an energy and a healing quality to the messages that we can incorporate for ourselves as well. I think it's just a beautiful offering and a positive contribution to the world.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jean.
You inspire me, Ellen. Thank you so much for coming on my show. And thank you, everybody, for all of your warm, loving comments and support. I thank each and every one of you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you again really soon. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.